Welcome to Live, Laugh, Launch, the podcast where we take your go-to-market strategy seriously.
But not too seriously. We're your co-hosts. I'm Katie.
And I'm Veronica.
And we're marketing pros who've survived enough launches to know that perfection is a myth and coffee, and sometimes cocktails, are a must.
In this podcast, we talk strategy, share hard-earned lessons, and say the quiet part out loud, whether you asked for it or not.
We'll tackle the good, the bad, and the hilarious of marketing, so you can giggle, not gaggle, your way through your next launch.
Because if you're not living, laughing, and launching, are you even marketing?
Let's get into it.
So today we're thrilled to welcome someone who not only shaped the way we think about product marketing, but who also was our boss. Volker Hildebrand has been the forefront of CRM and product marketing for years, leading groundbreaking strategies and always dreaming up the next big idea. From mastering the art of storytelling to exploring the exciting potential of generative AI, Volker has a knack for combining visionary thinking with real-world impact. Volker spent many years of his career at SAP and was more recently SVP of product marketing at Sugar CRM. Today, Volker acts as a member of the executive advisory board for Coveo, and he was named a PMA Top 10 Product Marketing Leader in 2023 and is an author, visiting lecturer, and keynote speaker. Volker, I'm so excited to see you. I feel like it's been forever. We're super happy that you're here.
Welcome, Likewise, same here. I'm super excited. Yeah, based on what you're talking about, I've been pretty busy.
Yeah, and we're still together. Me and Katie are like inseparable, even though we're not in the same state. We're inseparable.
Yeah, and Volker's list was quite long, quite impressive, I think.
I am lucky. Exactly. I got to work for like one of the best bosses out there, especially who took me under his wing and allowed me to take a chance and get into product marketing. So I owe it all to you.
Yes, but Volker, we're super happy to have you here. We're going to talk a bit about kind of big ideas in marketing, how you take things to market, what storytelling is and why it's so important in marketing, product marketing. Yeah, let's go ahead and kick it off. So Volker, you're great at those big strategies, big ideas that move the needle. How do you distinguish between a bold idea that has potential and one that's simply flashy but unfeasible?
So if you think about big ideas, I think even before you need to think about how you make a bold idea happen, you really need to think about what's the expected outcome of the idea, and is it worth the effort, or in terms of human effort and or investments, and maybe vet the idea with a few people like your team, maybe your boss, depending on who your boss is, or a few other folks in the organization, and just see get some initial feedback, and then when the idea is more kind of concrete and it seems like it has some substance, right? I think that's when it really starts, right? Where are the things that you need to do? And I think that there's two most important things before where you get the whole thing rolling. The first one is you need to get all the key stakeholders behind it. And in product marketing, we're in the middle of everything almost all the time. So a lot of what we do impacts other people, impacts other parts of the organization, or we need to work with other parts of the organization, whether it's the sales organization, other people in marketing, the product organization, etc., partner organization maybe. So, you can't have the best idea if you don't get the key stakeholders behind it. It's not going to be successful, right? And then the second step is, I was talking earlier about, is it worth the effort, investment? So if it does require some funding or resources beyond just monetary funding or budgets, you need to make sure, is there enough funding or resources? Otherwise, the great idea might be unfeasible as well, right? And it remains a flashy idea.
What about those instances where you have a bold idea or the executive team comes to you with a bold idea and there's no budget? We've experienced that before.
sometimes you can prioritize. I mean, for example, you may remember that when we were struggling with making all of our content available to the rest of the organization, we started with like a one-stop shop based on SharePoint. Don't want to trash talk SharePoints here, but
Not the
um,
best. Not the best.
it
Not for
it
what we
wasn't a great tool for that particular purpose. We were flying blind. We had no idea what people are using, what content works, what content doesn't work, what's being used, what's not being used. And so we had the idea of let's get a tool that actually meets our needs and the needs of the rest of the organization, the sales organization in particular. And so we decided to implement MediaFly, but we didn't have the money for it.
that. And we took away my favorite tool for that.
So, so what we did at that point was because we really believed, at least I think we believed that it was a great idea, and
Yeah.
and we got some other stakeholders to agree with us, and we prioritized it higher than some other things. And so, for example, we sacrificed what you were mentioning. We sacrificed one software or subscription for one tool, a learning tool for this one. We were working with the chief strategy officer and head of partner management to get a better deal. And so sometimes there are ways around it. Prioritization is always key. Also, I think in some areas, although teams not always like that, but you can compensate a lack of financial resources with more effort on on the workload side. Obviously, that's also a way, but that's not a sustainable way. But you can do it short term to overcome certain obstacles and say, hey, we just throw in a little bit more effort.
Yeah. So
And
basically,
that
you have
makes
to be creative. You have to
sense.
find ways and just be creative.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of sharing budgets with other departments. He just gave me an idea of something I need to ask for. So thank you for that.
I want to go back real quick to the importance of stakeholders, especially in product marketing, because so much what we do, all the content we create, um, it's used by other people in the organization, the sales organization, or it goes directly to the customer. And it needs to resonate with them, and so you want to work with all the stakeholders. But even if you do that, sometimes a great idea might seem to be a great idea, super creative, but then it still doesn't work because not everybody's fully behind it. And this is in particular true with the sales organization. I used to be in sales myself, so I can't say that, but you might remember it. Once we wanted to simplify a growing product portfolio, make things easier for everybody, and thought about, let's bundle some products, reduce the number of SKUs, think about some incentives for customers to upgrade, and we were thinking about campaigns to support it, and we all thought it was a great idea. We did all the math, and the numbers were looking great. CEO was looking on it, thumbs up. CFO was looking at, yeah, like a no-brainer. And then we even talked to some of the sales leaders, but we didn't talk to everybody in sales, which, you can't always do. And so there were some key leaders in the sales organization that just didn't buy into it. They were used to sell in a different way. And the one thing that salespeople care about most is they need to make their numbers so they get their commission at the end of the year and go to club. And when they're concerned that, whoa, this crazy idea is bringing my trip to club in jeopardy, they're just not going to go along with it.
This is true. And so let's change the topic here a little bit, because you're known for like creative ideas. And how do you balance creativity with practicality when pitching or implementing transformative marketing strategies? Are there moments when you had to scale back? How did you maintain the core impact?
Obviously, there are a lot of great ideas, and if they're implemented the right way, they lead to the expected results. And I think that's probably that's the key. That showing what you're planning to do delivers positive outcomes. And as we just learned, that may not be a single outcome, because in the example I just gave with the simplification, we did show how it would significantly impact in a positive way revenue growth, especially with existing customers. But that didn't matter to a particular audience as much.
Yeah, because they were seeing a very short-term loss, so it was hard to get everyone to see
Exactly.
the big picture.
Their like individual goal or goal for their team was kind of, at least in that moment, more important to them than maybe the bigger picture. And I think helping them and understanding that different audiences may have different challenges, may have different things that keep them up at night. I think that's really important, not just for great ideas, but also for positioning and messaging as well, right? You have to deal with, in many cases, different audiences, even for the same product, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that next, actually. In terms of storytelling, it's a huge part of product marketing and just marketing in general, especially when you're taking a product to market. You have to have a good story. So, do you have any tips for creating a story that resonates with your audience?
We all know we have to deal with business leaders, and at the same time with the IT leader, they have different challenges. They may react differently to a story, but so understanding these business challenges, and then you need to also include how you solve the business problem. What are you bringing to the table, or the product, right? And what's the positive outcome that
Right.
customers can expect for themselves. Analogies often work really well, because they help translate these things. And so, for example, AI, generative AI is big topic right now. Probably less than 1% of the population really understands what this AI magic is. And for everybody else, it's a black box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So trying to explain the black box to people and the awesome technology, I don't think is going anywhere. But if you can talk about the specific business challenge, and then talk about how, the black box is going to make this easier or better, and then has this particular outcome, for example, saving costs, or, driving revenue, or better identifying leads. That's what really, that what makes a story. And then if you have analogies, that can be kind of the icing of the cake, if you will, or the cherry on the icing on the cake. We one time, and this is also an AI example. This was still at my time at SAP. We acquired a Swiss company called Core Systems, and they were focused on field service management. That's all they did. Kind of schedule field service technicians, and optimize that with the help of AI. And then also, it also included a mobile app that helped them on site. The storyline we came up with, and the headline that we were using a lot, was no more waiting for the cable. And we all know, if you have a problem with your cable or your internet, and you call your provider, they're not going to be there immediately. They're probably going to tell you, oh, I can come on Friday between 8 and 5.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there. You can't watch TV. You may not have internet until the service technician shows up. So what they did for the Swiss internet and telco provider was, they were leveraging their AI-based technology to do the scheduling in real time. And they were able to get someone at the door of their customer within an hour after the customer called in over 90% of the calls.
Amazing.
And that's amazing. And so we were saying, yeah, everybody gets the everybody's been waiting for the cable guy once in their life, not more often. And so everybody understood, wow, yeah, if you can solve that problem and if you can actually in 9 out of 10 cases help the customer in less than an hour, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, we want that solution. We want to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what makes good storytelling. It's some fundamental stuff, but then if you can, if you have that icing or that extra cherry, that makes it resonate even more.
I was just wondering when you were telling that story, who was involved in that campaign? I assume product marketing. But did you work with any other departments to kind of create that message or get it out the door?
So yeah, I work with the CEO and founder of that company, and it was basically the subheader of the announcement of the acquisition. So it went out as part of the press release to kind of set the stage and let everybody know what is this company about it, instead of explaining it like, oh, they're doing this AI-based scheduling and it's really awesome. Mm-hmm. We're trying to figure out how can we explain. Another option was, and we're using that later, was the leveraging the gig economy and telling the Uber story, because part of what that Swiss telco company did, not on the software side, but on the human resources side, was they basically hired and vetted thousands of either retired engineers or engineering students to perform these tasks and be available on call, like an Uber driver, right? If you're available, you get out of class as a student, hey, I'm available. And it was part of the technology as well, right? And so they had this little app for, I think they had over 5,000 of these technicians. And training for this is not really hard, right? Because usually you don't repair anything. You just swap out the box most of the time. And maybe you need to do some wiring or need to do some setting. A lot of these things, it's not rocket science. And so sometimes we're also, again, using an analogy to kind of explain a pretty complicated technology and what it does, and what the benefits and the outcomes are, right?
But that bold statement, that one slogan or whatever you want to call it, that would catch my attention. No more having to wait for the cable guy. I mean, that right there is like, that perks me up. Like, wait, what? I work from home. When the cable's out, I don't want to have to wait till Friday, like you said. Yeah. I can't wait till Friday.
So, even other industries, think about B2B, more complex service technicians, a power generating turbine at some factory or power plants stops working and you need to send out a technician. It's even more important that you're there fast, because the entire production line might be on hold until your service technician shows up and fixes the problem. Absolutely. So it even resonated with entirely different industries or customers from entirely different industries, because they immediately, that's exactly. Nobody wants to wait. And in a lot of their service contracts, it is important that they show up within a certain amount of time. And many times the customer service is a key differentiator for these companies as well, right? So, yeah, but, first of all, I really think this was probably one of the best kind of slogans, if you will. It's not always, you don't always have that, but it's an aspiration to come up with something like that. And sometimes you fail. And so the important thing also is you always need to get feedback and close the loop and figure out, did it really resonate? I had one of my first bosses that wasn't even in the IT industry. He said, the fish must like the worm, not the angler. So it doesn't matter what you as a marketing person think is great. If your audience doesn't think it's great, it's not great.
Yeah, that's true. And you mentioned something, you said sometimes you fail. So What advice would you give marketers who feel stuck between coming up with great ideas and executing them effectively?
So I remember one time I was in front of an audience at a customer event, and it was all existing customers, so there were no prospects.
Mm-hmm.
And I had kind of a standard presentation kind of pitch with painting a bigger picture of what are the big trends in business and technology and consumer behavior, and what are the things that change the game for companies. And I thought it was a really great pitch, but they didn't care. All they wanted to know is what's in the new release and what's on the road.
Yeah.
And so I failed miserably, right? I lost them in the first 10 minutes of my intro, and it's, what is he talking about, right?
Yeah.
I always say whether it's internal or external, and people ask me, well, how did it go? My response always has been, you need to ask the audience.
Makes
I don't
That's a
know.
good point.
I may feel great,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And so that's the feedback loop that you need. Same with messaging and positioning. Same with content. That's why we're saying media fly is so important, because we were flying blind, right? What is being used? What has an impact? What doesn't have an impact? And looking at data. The nice thing is today there's a lot more data available. I remember when we were looking at the statistics for the 45 or 60 minute what's in the new release video from product management, and then we found out nobody's watching these, right? So a lot of effort was put in there, and there was a lot of content. There was a lot of good stuff in there, but nobody wanted to consume it that way.
Right.
Especially, I mean, customers are not thinking about your release, they're not just sitting around like, I wonder what this company is doing today. Like, they do care about new features, but not enough to watch 45 minutes.
No, definitely not.
Well, yeah, it's too long, and we all know that attention spans are kind of going down as well. But it's also, in those 45 minutes, there's maybe 5 minutes that's relevant for a viewer, right?
I think that's why we did so well with our scoop videos that we did whenever we had a new release.
That's right. And that was then, so let's try something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can we make it different? Make
and
it easier to consume, easier to digest.
Also, just reformatting how we presented our release information to customers in our community had a huge impact. I think I've quoted it on my LinkedIn even, because it was like thousands of % more engagement than we had previously, because we started listening.
When we talked about the challenge and how we were going to solve the challenges, that was speaking into their language, our customers' language, and solving their pain. So then it was easier to absorb than features and functionalities,
Right.
Gen AI is like the biggest thing, the biggest topic. Everybody's like integrating it into their solutions and their software and things like that. With your vast experience in CRM solutions, what do you think would be the best way to approach integrating Gen AI or AI in general into marketing strategies? Like, what excites you most?
What excites me most is I think there's a huge potential for generative AI in marketing with regards to boosting both productivity and, I would even say, creativity, because it can give you a lot of ideas, and it's in the nature of generative AI to make things up and come up with new stuff. And many times that may not make sense, but it may spark some new ideas of doing things. So I think it can be helpful with creativity as well, where you definitely need to be careful outside of ethical and other issues on the creativity side in particular is it also, despite the fact that it's generative AI, it tends to take the same approach to similar problems. You may ask it to do something for you, and your competitor asks a similar thing, and then
Right.
you're basically doing the same thing.
Yeah, we're
pretty
saying the
much.
same thing. If you're using the copy, right? They could have gotten something very similar.
I think the key really is to, make sure, as some people say, still have humans in the loop, and look at it more as a tool that supports you versus full automation with more or less supervision.
Yeah, I always like to use that analogy. Like you can go on autopilot, but the pilot's still in the cockpit. You know,
Yeah.
who's driving that plane? So yeah, you cannot rely solely on generative.
Yeah, but it is helpful. Like I feel like I'm 50% more productive than I
Oh yeah,
would be without it.
that's why I'm saying I think the
Yeah.
productivity boost is huge, and it frees up time, and
Mhm.
whether it's in marketing, whether it's, hey, put something together for me, then even if it's just a starting point, right? It's a starting
Yeah.
point that you get in an instant versus after 30 minutes or an hour of doing your own research.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And then so you at least save that, even if you still put a lot of effort in it to give it your personal touch or improve it or make sure it actually makes sense.
I wanted to ask a quick question about hiring. Obviously, you've had a lot of teams, including us. We were talking to your good friend Jackie Palmer recently, and she
Yeah.
was telling us that she really looks for storytelling as main indicator that someone will be great as a product marketer. And so that's kind of how she formats her interviews, even if there's someone coming over from, a different department, product management, customer success, content, whatever it may be, that storytelling is just a huge part of that process. I was wondering, is it that way for you when you're hiring someone? And also, are there other things that you look for in a good product marketer?
Yes and no. Yes. It I think it is important that somebody has those skills, but again, coming back to kind of the icing of the cake, that's usually the exception. You can't always have like the, no more waiting for the cable guy kind of slogan for everything you do. So I wouldn't expect that everybody kind of comes up with these things like on a daily
Mhm.
basis. So I think being able to understand that framework and look at things from a, who's the audience, who are the personas, and what are their challenges, what keeps them up the night, kind of being able to apply that framework and translate what technology does into the business outcomes that business people can understand, and even IT people, even a lot of IT people don't know. Since we were talking about AI, don't really understand what's going on in the black box, but they're also looking at the outcome ultimately. So I think if storytelling is being able to do that, I think it's important. Having said that, I also believe that a product marketing team is, I sometimes look at it like a football team. You don't just need quarterbacks.
Mm.
You're not going to win. And I think if you only have storytellers, who's going to do pricing and packaging? Who's going to do all that math? We started to introduce a launch process almost for the entire organization, and we were leading it. That's not storytelling skills that you need for that, right? So I think, like in the football team, you need some big guys that can defend or block an opponent or protect the quarterback. You need someone who's good at kicking the ball. You need guys that can run fast and are good at catching. And I think you want the same, or at least something similar, in a product marketing team. Now, obviously, if the team's fairly small, you need more people that are a little bit more universal in
Mhm.
their skills. But if the team starts getting a little bigger, you can put more emphasis on this, and it also brings diversity, right? I think part of the storytelling can actually be learned, because
Mhm.
there are frameworks for it, and even if it's not mine, if it's somebody else, you can apply it, and maybe you're not a superstar, but you can do it, and therefore you're a superstar in organizing product launches,
Mhm.
or you're a superstar in analyzing data, finding nuggets that then triggers new ideas for new campaigns or new packaging or new bundling. I think product marketing, at least my understanding of product marketing, is it's such an important role within a technology company, especially, and I think they should own all of these things: market insights and working with analysts, pricing and packaging, all of these things. And then it doesn't just come down to storytelling. Although I do agree with Jackie that it's important. I think one of the most important skills, if not the most important skill, is listening. I think as a good product marketing person, you need to be able to listen to your customers, what are their needs, listen to the product people, right? What are they building? Where are they building it? Listen to your team. You're not necessarily the smartest person in the room. It's your team. And also listen to your stakeholders, because as we saw earlier, the best ideas can fail if you don't have the buy-in of all your stakeholders. So I think listening is actually a very, very important skill as a product marketing.
I agree for sure.
I agree with that. And asking a lot of questions. Product marketers definitely need to ask.
Active listening.
Active listening.
Yeah, exactly. Asking a lot of questions.
Awesome. Well, we are so happy to see you again, Volker.
Yeah, same here. I'm so sad to see the time's up already.
Yes. Well, we can always connect outside of the podcast for sure.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was our pleasure, and we'll end here.
Well, thanks for having me.